warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najuma Lima, but first are the headlines. Education Ministry suspends deployment and transfer of teachers. Kenya's Ruto concerned the Sudan crisis may deepen, threatening region. Kenya to scale up testing investigations to reduce doping cases. Welcome once again. Now the news in detail. The Ministry of Education and Sports has temporarily suspended the transfer and deployment of teaching and non-teaching staff with immediate effect. This was announced in a notice issued on April 17th by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, Katie Lamaro. We have more. According to Lamaro, the suspension has been issued to enable the Office of the Auditor General efficiently carry out nationwide payroll audit. The audit exercise, which is expected to end in June, is aimed at ascertaining the exact number of public officers, including the teaching and non-teaching staff. This year, the Ministry of Finance embarked on an audit into the government payroll in a bid to rectify the recurrent challenges in remittances of pensions, gratuity, and salaries of public servants. The move came on the backdrop of concerns over increasing number of non-existent workers, ghost workers in the public service who are illegally accessing government salaries and pensions. Last month, the Minister for Public Service, Wilson Mururi Mukasa, asserted that the Finance Ministry had undertaken the audit exercise to scrutinize the payroll so that they get accurate figures of people on the payroll. A Chinese contraceptive pill with reported deadly adverse side effects has become even more popular ever since it got banned by the government last year, the National Drug Authority has said.
Dubbed the Chinese pill because its packaging bears no English wording except Chinese writings, the contraceptive is being sold on the black market and goes through a chain of over 40 persons. According to NDA, the pill was found to contain high doses of hormones above the recommended dose. The risks associated with the use of this product include prolonged bleeding, irregular menstrual periods, palpitations, the possibility of blood clots, and heart disease. It can also lead to cancer in the uterine area and infertility. NDA Public Relations Manager Abiaz Ramwiri says the distribution of the pill involves a complex racket. He says one cannot just walk into a random pharmacy but can be availed if one needs it. One pill costs between 10,000 shillings and 15,000 shillings each compared to other available alternatives that cost around 5,000 Ugandan shillings for a month's dose. The regulator says that when used, the hormones from the pill take longer than should be in the body, and this poses a risk to the baby born of a user mother, including secondary sexual characteristics like premature puberty. By the time Uganda banned the pill, it had been banned in other countries long before.
Let's take a quick break. We shall be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. Damaged residential and commercial buildings, civilians sheltering in their homes with dwindling food supplies, power outages, and a lack of running water. The power struggle between Sudan's top generals is a systematic pattern of atrocities that continues to cause devastation. Let's take a look.
Kenya's president noted that the disregard for the resolutions, coupled with the evidence of lack of commitment to ending the conflict, strongly indicates that the attacks on diplomatic installations and personnel, as well as targeting of hospitals, hostels and other social spaces, are deliberate, systematic, and tantamount to atrocities against humanity. The army and the Rapid Support Forces said they would commit to a 24-hour ceasefire on Wednesday. However, fighting continued in Khartoum. President William Ruto urged to silence the guns in the region and on the continent. There is real danger that the escalating hostilities in Sudan could implicate external regional and international actors and degenerate into a security and humanitarian crisis on a disastrous scale. The UN chief is said to meet on Thursday with the heads of the African Union, the African League and Regional Bloc, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development in efforts for peace.
Moving on, more than 150 people, including foreign diplomats and officials rescued from the battle-scarred Sudan, arrived in Jeddah on Saturday in the first official evacuation of civilians since fighting began. Sudan's naval forces carried out the evacuation with the support of other branches of the army. Among those safely arriving were 91 Saudi citizens and around 66 nationals from 12 other countries, that is Kuwait, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Tunisia, Pakistan, India, Bulgaria, Bangladesh, the Philippines, Canada, and Burkina Faso. The evacuees were greeted by soldiers handing out sweets for Eid. Women and children holding Saudi flags were also seen getting off one of the ships. Among those who arrived in Jeddah on Saturday was the crew of Saudi passenger plane that was hit by gunfire while preparing to take off from Khartoum at the start of the fighting on April 15th. It was the first evacuation of civilians from Sudan since violence erupted there a week ago. United States, Britain, France and China are planning to airlift their nationals out of Khartoum using military jets. Clashes erupted on April 15th between forces loyal to Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and those of his deputy-turned-rival Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, who commands the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Away from that, Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari has called on Nigerians to continue to pray for sustainable peace and security in the country.
Nigeria's First Lady made a statement in Abuja after performing prayers to mark the Muslim festival Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of the month of Ramadan. Ms. Buhari was joined by the wife of the Inspector General of Police, Hajara Al-Kali Baba, and other family members, and urged the Ummah to reflect on the good lessons of the Ramadan. She also took the opportunity to thank all Nigerians for their support and prayers for the Buhari administration and wished the incoming administration of Bola Tinubu a very peaceful and successful tenure. The First Lady urged Nigerians to extend good virtues of sharing, love, support, forgiveness, and sacrifice for the betterment of mankind, and Nigerian asked them to take on board the lessons of Ramadan, which included love, tolerance, and the fear of Allah.
Meeting with his Prime Minister and other officials at the presidency on Thursday, Tunisia's leader slammed foreign reactions following the detention of opposition leader Rached Ghannouchi. Let's take a look. Following his arrest on Monday, the EU had expressed concern, saying that the principle of political pluralism was essential for any democracy and an element marking up the basis of its partnership with Tunisia. Since the early February, Tunisian authorities have imprisoned more than 20 personalities openly opposed to President Said's rule. Tunisia's official top news agency reported earlier this week that he was was detained on a warrant by counterterrorism prosecutors as part of an investigation into recent provocative comments. It did not elaborate. Some local media reported that Ganuchi had been questioned over a video circulated online in which the leader of the opposition Islamist movement, Ennahda, purportedly said that the president's perceived efforts to eradicate Islamist opposition threatened to unleash civil war. The move comes amid growing social tensions and deepening economic troubles in Tunisia, the birthplace of the Arab Spring, a movement, pro-democracy movement, more than a decade ago. Let's once again take a quick break. We shall be right back. In our business news today, South Africa, the continent's most industrialized country, is in the grip of an energy crisis that critics say is much deeper than the authorities openly acknowledge.
The periodic electricity blackouts are expected to reach a critical stage as winter arrives in the southern hemisphere and sends energy demand soaring, according to experts. Over the past 15 years, South Africa's electricity crisis has been deepening with power shortages blamed on insufficient investments in the country's aging coal-fired power plants. The crisis has worsened over the past 12 months, with the country spared the deliberating rolling blackouts known as load shedding only on Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and a handful of other occasions. Under pressure to end the power cuts, President Cyril Ramaphosa declared in February a national state of disaster, a legal move introduced to prioritize efforts to address the problem. To damage the shortfalls, the state-owned power company Eskom imposes daily scheduled rationing to cope with the production shortfalls. But more recently, the power cuts have lengthened and many people are forced to endure blackouts of up to 12 hours a day.
In our health news today, Africa's first mRNA vaccine hub was ceremonially launched on Thursday to acclaim from the UN's Global Health Chief, who hailed its historic shift to help poor countries gain access to life-saving jobs. The facility was set up in the South African city of Cape Town in 2021 on the back of the success of the revolutionary anti-COVID vaccines introduced by the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. While briefing the media to mark the inauguration, the World Health Organization head Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that the precious project will bring a paradigm shift in addressing the serious problem they faced, the equity problem during the pandemic, so that it's not repeated again. South Africa's Science and Innovation Minister Blade Nzimande said that access to life-saving COVID-19 vaccines came at a time when South Africa and the rest of the developing world were at the back of the queue. The hub has already established mRNA vaccine production at laboratory scale and is currently scaling up and validating production of Moderna jabs at commercial scale. The vaccine can be kept at relatively warm temperatures, making it easier to store in low and middle income settings. Refrigeration can be had. The hub's other role is to act as a guide for manufacturers in poorer countries, helping them to gain the know-how to make mRNA vaccines in large quantities and in line with international standards. Funding to date stands at $117 million, with support mainly from the European Union, France, Germany, and Canada. And finally, with our sports news today, the Kenyan government plans to scale up its investigation and testing capacity to help fight the rising number of doping cases among authorities in the country. Ahomuza with more.
Kenya's sports minister received on Thursday a report on doping in the nation. It comes as the nation has set a target of 3,445 tests per year, covering 37,900 athletes and athlete support personnel before the end of this financial year. 67 athletes have been banned in the last 5 years for drugs offenses. According to Minister Babu Namwamba, the reason why may be their cases have also been high is perhaps they test better and more than anybody else right now globally, and believes that Kenya is really up there in terms of the level, frequency, and capacity of testing for doping. Kenya vowed to fight doping after crisis tarnished the East African track and field powerhouse and threatening the nation of a ban by governing body World Athletics. The athletics powerhouse has been in the top category on the World Anti-Doping Agency watching list for 7 years.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned.